O thou of boundless form, thou art the primal God of gods, the ancient being. Thou art the supreme refuge of the universe. Thou art the knower and the one to be known. Thou art the supreme goal. By thee is the universe pervaded. Tvamadideva Purusha Purana Tvamasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Veta Sivedyam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwamanantarupam. Mighty yoga. You look around and there's a proliferation of concepts of yoga, and there are practices also in their own way. Hot yoga, pot yoga, what yoga. Okay. But once we get beyond the wellness and the health and the benefits, and we come down to the core yoga, we will understand that this philosophy, the science, has been there from ancient times, and it is perfectly designed to change humanity in the future. It was supposed to have already changed, but we've been late in applying it. Because it raises your consciousness. Human consciousness can be transformed, can be elevated, can be refined. And this is what the yogis have challenged. People have been looking for consciousness at the very, you can say, lowest rungs of its existence. And that's why there's so much confusion about what consciousness is. So today's talk, the mighty yoga, we will look at not the various practices that are being promoted and undertaken, but yoga from the cosmic perspective. The world outside has always fascinated the human mind. Its smells, taste, and touch, and names, and the forms, and the color, kind of dazzling. And we are a curious species, and we have been trying to understand this external world. And apart from this external world, we do not know anything else as existent. Yes, the other planets and stars are an extension of this place we call our world. We have been able to peer further into space and into the heart of even matter. And things are slowly becoming unraveled. And that has increased the fascination, the search. You know, our curiosity also is insatiable, and we get a kind of a childlike joy in discovering certain things. But the more we know about this external world, the more we don't know. It's so complex. And if the world outside is complex, mysterious, that means the mind also is complex and mysterious because it partakes of the same nature. So religions in the past have been trying to understand the nature of the world, the nature of existence, through various means, through fables, through stories, through narratives, but they can be all lumped under the title of mythology or mythos, as the old Greeks would say. That is an authentic way of understanding. In fact, most of our understanding of ourselves and of the world comes through this mythos. Science takes the logos, the rational, the logical, it observes, deduces things. So both these aspects of the human mind have been used to understand the world outside, existence. And gradually we are coming to understand that there is something else and another aspect of the world which the yogis long time understood, which has not been understood in a very, you can say, widespread way, that nature has a delusive power within itself. So, and that means the mind also has, nature has. Sometimes we get into some states which are inexplicable by either mythos or, you can say, logos. But we rely on traditions. Oh, this has happened before. We take some psychedelics and then we find, oh, it affects it. The nature affects the mind and the mind affects nature. So whatever we eat, drinks, everything we do affects the mind. So hypnotism, trance states, mass hysteria, or whatever you can say, hysteria, all states of delusion. Nature has that aspect within it. You try to study nature and it takes you away from your search and misleads you. And this has been an aspect which Vedanta and yoga has studied. Why are we taken away from our search, actual search, and we are distracted? So the ancient yogis, they never relied on these three aspects of nature. Neither mythos, neither logos, nor the delusive power. It is generally translated as Yoga Maya. There is a power in the universe called Yoga Maya. We'll discuss it a little later. They took the help of yoga, the science of yoga, to understand the world, the nature of the world. And so today we'll be discussing certain aspects of what this science is telling us about. One more thing, that nature may look dull and insentient, but we also know there's tremendous powers there. And if there are tremendous powers in nature, those powers also will be there in the human mind. And so the reason why in the third chapter of the yoga philosophy, yoga aphorisms, is called the powers, the Vibhuti Pad, the chapter on powers. Some of the powers enumerated are mind-blowing, so-called. Yeah, that will blow your mind. If you can awaken those powers in the mind, through yoga, through concentration, you can have an almost unlimited powers over nature. I used to be confused. Something I do here, I have a power over there. Yes. And the yoga philosophy, those who have read this third chapter will understand. Like, how is it possible? Is it ever? Yes. So what I'm trying to emphasize is there's the mind, which is the internal nature, and the world outside is external nature. But these internal and external are just fictitious. It's all one. So the sages of the Upanishads, they, as I said, they tried to search this nature of the existence through yoga. And in one of the old Upanishads called Chandogya, a sage called Narada goes to another sage called 30Mar. And he asked him a series of questions. And in one of the teachings, 30Mar says, meditation is indeed greater than intelligence. The earth is meditating, as it were. The intermediate space is meditating, as it were. Heaven is meditating, as it were. The waters are meditating, as it were. Mountains are meditating, as it were. The gods and the human beings are meditating, as it were. Therefore, those amongst human beings who attain greatness here, they verily appear to have acquired a portion of the result of this meditation. Then again, there are those who are small, quarrelsome, jealous, slanderous. On the other hand, those who have influence over others, they appear to have acquired a portion of the result of meditation. Meditate on meditation. That's wonderful. So then he continues, he who meditates on meditation as Brahman gets freedom of movement as far as the range of meditation extends. So if you meditate on meditation as Brahman, reality, you will get movement, free movement, not physically. Of course, there are powers where you can move physically also, but what the sage is trying to make it clear that you will get the range of movement as far as the universe extends. Because the earth is meditating, as it were, the heavens are meditating, everything is meditating, everything is meditating. So if you can understand that, you will be one with that meditation. This whole aspect of reality is a form of meditation. So they say, meditate on meditation. Meditate on meditation as a reality. That free movement in the sense of comprehension. You will understand the universe is meditating. And it's the word used evil as if it is meditating. Yes. So this is a very profound, you can say, way of understanding nature and reality. We see nature as what? Strife, competition, and evil, and horror, and so many things. So we are not going to deny that. But there is a higher, loftier view of reality. So from the highest standpoint of consciousness, we can see that existence itself has been layered over and over, and they are finding at the deepest point, the universe is in a state of meditation. All that strife and all that crazy things that are happening, all the evil and the perpetrators of evil, when you look at existence in the widest sense. So we have just begun studying the science of consciousness, science of yoga, and just scratching the surface. These guys had plumbed the depths. So this, as the verse says, the gods and the humans are meditating. You go and ask people, can you meditate? No way, I cannot meditate. They try to meditate, but then the mind is a monkey mind. And they'll keep on running, jumping about. What meditation? The gods are all meditating. Do the gods meditate? Yeah, they're meditating. So here, just to give us an example of even the gods meditate, as it were. Sri Ramakrishna, one time, while speaking of Swami Vivekananda, his future disciple, he says, he has perfected himself in meditation. And he's saying, if he realizes who he is, he won't stay even a moment here. Too bad. He also said that Swami Vivekananda was one of the sages amongst the cluster of those 7 sages. They are called the Saptarishis. And then he narrates an experience that he has. So one day he was absorbed in samadhi. And he says his mind began expanding. And as it began expanding, it crossed the various realms of the gods. And there he saw a kind of a barrier that separated the phenomenal world and the noumenal or the transcendental world. So all these forms, etc., of gods and ideal forms had vanished, had been left behind. And then he says, my mind transcended that barrier that separates this world from the transcendent. Not this physical world, the ideal world of the mind, the spiritual world. And he's saying, I was surprised to see 7 sages sitting down in meditation. And he thought, these sages must have transcended or even surpassed the gods and the various goddesses in their purity and their holiness. And he was looking at these 7 sages sitting down meditating. And then he says that from that undifferentiated mass of luminosity, there emerged a small child. And the child goes to one of the sages, clasps his arms around his neck, and says, I'm going down. Won't you come along with me? And the sage, he was in deep meditation, opened his eyes, and he saw just love. It looked like the child itself was the treasure of his heart. And he didn't say anything but closed his eyes and again plunged into meditation. And then he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, I saw a portion of that sage like a flame descending down, coming down to earth and falling down on the house of Swami Vivekananda. And when Swami Vivekananda first meets him, he recognizes him as that sage. And then later he was pressed. Well, who was the child? Yeah, it was me. So he had said, I am going down, come along with me. So they have come, as it were, together. I'm not trying to emphasize that. What am I trying to say? There were these people who are meditating, these beings. What do they do, meditation? Well, the whole universe is meditating and they're also meditating. In fact, tradition says that the whole process of the universe, its evolution, etc., is being guided by these sages and these gods and the goddesses through their meditation. So we see, oh, nature is beautiful, it's going like this, it's going like that. Of course, now we have microplastics all over the place. That also is part of. So the entire process of life, death, struggle, everything that is in the world is impelled, we say, by nature or by evolution. But here we can say it's impelled by the power of meditation of the gods and the sages. So much for that idea. This is a concept that has not been explored, of course. That the creative processes are impelled by the power of yoga. And you see, when we meditate, whom do we meditate on? Well, we meditate. We are not meditating on meditation, which was supposed to. The object of meditation always is God. So when we ask who has created what, what's the nature of this world, this and that, you can just say one, okay, the whole process is the yoga process. And there's also the one who is the master of yoga. He is a mighty yogi. And so in the Bhagavad Gita, we find a verse. So if this whole universe is being in the process of meditation, whose meditation? All the gods and all. But they are just aspects of that one great God. He is meditating or she is meditating, as it were. So you find that this form of the universe is a yoga form. The universe, existence itself, is a form of yoga. And the one who is there behind all forms is that mighty yogi. God is the first and the last and the middle is in the form of yoga. So how does it work out for us? So apart from him being the mighty yogi, he also lays down certain, you can say, rules, or he has given us the science of what meditation is. Periodically comes and refurbishes this. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, I imparted this imperishable yoga to Vivaswan. Vivaswan taught it to the firstborn. And the firstborn gave it to the secondborn, Manu. And Manu transmitted to Ikshvaku. Then began the line of royal sages who took up this yoga. And he's saying after a long lapse of time, this yoga had to be renewed. So he tells Arjuna, that ancient yoga itself has been taught to you by me today, like in the second and the third chapters. Considering that you are my devotee, I'm telling this to you. Telling it to all of us. We are going to. So not only is the metaphysical reality as it were in the state of yoga, it's a form of God in the state of yoga. But he also periodically comes and gives us the method to realize this. That makes it more interesting. Otherwise, what's the goal of life? Oh yeah, the goal of life has many things to many people. But ultimately, it is what we will experience through this. That the whole universe is, as it were, the unfolding of yoga. So why can't we experience this yoga form of the universe or the yoga form of God? As the Upanishad says, because we are small, quarrelsome, slanderous, jealous. So the God is in the yoga form. He is the mighty. All these questions about the nature of the world, the nature of existence, why and why did it happen, and what is God doing? God is busy meditating. And then he tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita itself. He says, I want to see your real form. He was seeing Krishna there on the chariot and they are both discussing. And now he is curious. You've said all these things, real great things. I want to see your real form. And then Krishna says, see, you can't see my yoga form with these eyes, ordinary eyes. I'll give you the divine eyes. So he's saying, the divine eye is Divyam dadami te chakshu. I'll give you the divine eyes. Pashya, see my yoga, the glory of my yoga. So Sanjaya, who's relating the whole, you can say, incident, he's telling that blind king Dhritarashtra. Then Hari, that is one who destroys all delusions, showed his yoga form. The yoga form is the universal form, the cosmic form. And Arjuna was stunned. He thought he will see an expansion of this very form that he sees in front of him. It might go and expand. But he saw within that form his cosmic form and all the various processes of creation, sustenance and destructions. And he saw all the denizens of the universe. Every being that exists, he's found it was in the body of God. That was something that he couldn't stand it. He's saying, no, I don't want to. Please, I can't. retract that form. I've seen enough. Even with his divine eyes, he couldn't kind of stomach what he saw. And they say, I want to see that lovable, adorable form of yours. So he retracts the form. And then, okay. And then he's saying, then he quotes all these. The verse that I had quoted in the beginning was one of that, from one of his sayings. He's just shocked. He's saying, how can this be? Yes. So we are all within that yoga form of the Lord, living our lives, thinking we are splendid, doing all the crazy things, and things people will praise us and acknowledge us and validate us. Nobody bothers. We don't see the larger picture. And the larger picture is this. So the idea of good, evil, life, death, etc., they become insignificant when you see it from the perspective of that cosmos. The entire form of the universe is a yoga form of God. And it's always like the yoga and the yogi, they are not different. You cannot have a yoga there and a yogi here. They are both one. The person who practices yoga is a yogi, and the experiences are just yoga. So this is the divine form of yoga that Arjuna saw through his divine sight. In the Vespers hymns, every day, those who attend it, they chant. The translation is kind of not really accurate. The verse is, Swamiji, Jrimbita Yuga Ishvara Jaga Ishvara Yoga Sahai. In thee all paths of yogas meet. That's the way it is translated. But Yoga Sahai, Yoga and Sahai means the involvement of yoga or the help to yoga. It's also translated as the helper in yoga. Technically, Sahai means involvement. So the first word is Chrimbita, that is manifestation. So Shri Ramakrishna, who is, according to Swamiji in his hymns, the Lord of the world, Jaga Ishvara, Yuga Ishvara, the Lord of this age, has manifested through the help of yoga. So God descends also through the powers of yoga. Because everything is yoga, he has got to use yoga to descend, to play his part and go back, merge back in yoga. I mean, we are talking about incarnations, avatars. And when we see this, okay, he's called him Jaga Ishvara, the Ishvara of the world, and Yuga Ishvara, the Ishvara of this age. So Shri Ramakrishna has come down here, appeared to us through the powers of yoga. He is the Lord of yoga. In the scriptures, one of the epithets of God is the Lord of yoga. Ishvara, the Lord of yoga. So this is how an avatar functions. And I told you about Yoga Maya. That is one of the powers in nature that is generally called the delusive powers of nature. So the God of yoga, he comes down through yoga, taking the help of that yoga maya, the delusive power, and appears as human beings. That's why we cannot really grasp. There's a kind of a veil put in front of his eyes or our eyes, between us. We cannot catch it. So Sri Ramakrishna also uses the word yoga maya. It is through yoga maya that an incarnation decides. And like all powers, we also have, yoga maya is also called a goddess. She is the goddess. When Sri Ramakrishna saw his picture the very first time, he looks at his picture and he was thrilled. Oh, he looked at this picture. I hope you all remember that incident where he was unwilling to be photographed by Bhavanath. And then Swamiji comes. Swamiji comes and he understands what's happening. So he's saying, give me a minute. And he starts singing. And Swamiji, when he used to sing, he used to put his whole soul into his singing. And as he was singing, Sri Ramakrishna, as usual, goes into samadhi. Of course, he's the Lord of Yoga. He has to go into samadhi often. So he goes into samadhi. And then Swamiji says, now click his picture. And in those days, it was a huge contraption, It's not like today's cell phones or cameras. They got everything ready and clicked his picture. And then later on, a print was shown to him and said, he was delighted. He's saying, this is a very high state of yoga. This form will be worshipped in every home as time passes by. So this is what it is. When you see the picture of Buddha or Vivekananda or Ramakrishna, they are all in deep meditation. If you see Holy Mother's picture, Raja Maharaj's picture, Raja Brahmananda, even here Christ's picture, he's in meditation. Here I say, Christ in the yoga posture. There it is. So it's all there. This is the nature of God, the universe, and us too. Only problem has, we have become small, slanderous, jealous, mean. But that also will pass. This, in a way, when we are talking about the Lord of this age, the Lord of the universe, Yoga Ishvara, Jaga Ishvara, the Lord of this age and Lord of the universe is now the Lord of yoga, and he is in the state of yoga. And when we worship him, we are in a way worshipping the yoga form of the universe and God in meditation. So creation and creator are always considered one. They are not two separate things. So the universe is God meditating. And everything, even the most mundane things in your life now has a different meaning. This also is the form of yoga. And this is one of the reasons why I began with yoga has a power to change human consciousness, change societies. That was the original idea that was put forward by this. We want to create humanity in its original image. We have to go. God created us in His image, yeah, in the yoga image. So we are all, whether we go to a spa or a yoga studio or anywhere to practice yoga, we are all yogis. The universe is in the state of yoga. The sky is meditating as it were, the mountains and waters and heavens and everything is meditating as it were. So these were realizations of these sages. We will come down to how do we come down? How do we realize the very, you can say, vast universe as meditating? Well, you can start with meditating on Sri Ramakrishna, because he's in the state of that yoga. He said a high state of yoga. This is what it means. The high state of yoga has been now brought to us here, so that our own yoga perceptions will be cleansed and we will see the mighty yoga, and we are part of that. Om, peace, peace, peace. Before we go to the questions, next Sunday is Sri Ramakrishna's, Ramchandra's birth, that is Ram Navami. Today it happens to be the new year in India, of course, not here. And they start this new year with a 9-day fast. Good for us. So the goddess Durga is worshipped. This is the first day of her worship. And in many traditions, it's the worship of Rama. So everywhere you will find the story of Rama enacted. So this is the first day of, we like to start a new year with something, with a big bang. So the story of Ramchandra will be taken by Swami Vimohananda. He is a minister in charge of the Vedanta, Vivekananda Vedanta Society of British Columbia in Vancouver, Surrey. So he will be here next Sunday. He'll give this talk. And Wednesday, of course, we have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the study group which will be taken by Swami Avikarananda, Towards the Goal Supreme, 7 p.m. by Swami Brahmatmananda. So it's a reading and discussion. You can get a link on the Google Meet. Self-Knowledge Friday, 7 p.m. And we have Karma Yoga Day, Tapovan, and Mother's Children also. Okay, nothing here. There's anyone here? Or we could take it down in the basement. And nothing yet. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.